Hey there. Let's talk about something we all experience but rarely truly understand: solitude. That feeling of being alone, unreachable, disconnected. In our hyper-connected world, it's often painted as a negative, a sign of loneliness, of being left out. But what if I told you that according to the profound wisdom of the great psychologist Carl Jung, this very state of being unreachable is not an emptiness? What if it's actually the beginning of the most important journey you'll ever take? A journey not to a distant land, but deep into the uncharted territory of your own inner world. Today, we're going to explore what really happens when you step away from the noise. This isn't about a 5-minute meditation. This is about the deep, sometimes challenging, but ultimately transformative power of turning inward. Carl Jung didn't see solitude as a void to be filled. He saw it as a fertile ground, a sacred space where the seeds of your true self are waiting to sprout. So, get comfortable. Let's set aside the heavy textbooks and the complex terminology for a moment, and let's talk about this like a story. The story of you. And we're going to take our time with this, because the soul isn't something you can rush. Part 1. The gift of silence. Solitude as the gateway. It starts with the silence. The moment you become unreachable, the constant hum of the outside world begins to fade. The notifications stop. The expectations of others quiet down. And for the first time, you're left with you. Let's just sit with that for a second. You. Not you the employee. Not you the parent. Not you the friend. Not you the social media persona. Just you. The essential being beneath all those roles. When was the last time you checked in with that person? You observed that our personalities are constantly being shaped, molded, and often pressured by the outside world. From the moment we're born, we're handed a script. Our families, our schools, our culture, our jobs, they all have an idea of who we should be. What success looks like. What happiness is supposed to be. And we play along. We become masterful actors, wearing these social masks. Jung called them personas, to fit in, to be accepted, to be loved. The good child, the hard worker, the easygoing friend. But after a while, a question starts to whisper from deep within. It's a quiet question at first, easy to ignore amidst the noise. But in solitude, it grows louder. But who am I, really? Underneath all of this, what do I want? What do I believe? What is my own, authentic voice? This is where solitude transforms from a state of being into your greatest ally. It's not about running away from people or rejecting connection. That's a misunderstanding. It's about temporarily stepping back from the crowd so you can finally hear your own inner voice, which has been trying to get your attention all along. Think of it like this. If your mind is a lake, the constant interactions, demands, and stimulations of daily life are like stones being thrown into the water, creating ripples upon ripples. It's chaotic. You can't see the bottom. You can't see what's hidden in the depths, the ancient treasures, the sunken ships of past experiences, the mysterious creatures that represent your deepest instincts. Solitude is when the ripples finally settle, the last stone has been thrown, and the water becomes still and clear, mirror-like, and only then, in that profound stillness. Can you peer into the profound depths below? This act of looking inward is the first, and perhaps most courageous, step. This is the first gift of solitude, clarity. It's an opportunity to confront what Jung called your existential realities. Not the realities dictated by your boss or your social feed, but your realities. Your fears that you've been brushing aside. Your secret desires that feel too ambitious or too shameful to admit. Your untapped potential that's been waiting for a sign. your weaknesses that you've been compensating for. This might sound intimidating, and honestly, it can be. It's far easier to keep the stones flying, to keep the water turbulent, than to face what lies beneath. But Jung insisted that this confrontation isn't just necessary. It's the very engine of personal development. Avoiding it, he warned, leads to a life of quiet desperation, a life lived for others, a life where you become a stranger to yourself. This confrontation is the starting point of what he famously called the individuation process, the lifelong journey toward becoming a whole, integrated, and truly unique individual. Part 2. The Architecture of the Psyche, Mapping the Inner World. Before we dive deeper, let's get a rough map of this territory we're about to explore. Jung gave us a beautiful, complex model of the human psyche. It's not a rigid blueprint, but more like a living, breathing ecosystem. First, there's the ego. This is what you typically think of as I. It's the center of your conscious awareness. It's the part that makes decisions, that remembers your name, that navigates your daily life. The ego is necessary. It's the captain of the ship. But it often mistakenly believes it is the entire ship. Then, surrounding the ego, is the vast personal unconscious. This is like your own private storage unit. It contains everything that isn't currently in your conscious awareness, but that belongs to your personal history. Forgotten memories, things you've repressed because they were too painful. Embarrassing moments, undeveloped talents. This is also where we first meet the shadow, but we'll get to that in a moment. Deeper still lies the collective unconscious. This is perhaps Jung's most revolutionary idea. He proposed that we are not born as blank slates. Instead, we are born with a deep psychic inheritance, a foundation of universal human experiences accumulated over millennia. This is not personal. It's shared by all of humanity, and the structures within this collective unconscious what Jung called archetypes. Archetypes are like the fundamental blueprints, the recurring patterns, the primordial characters of the human story. They are not inherited ideas or images, but innate potentials, predispositions to experience the world in certain ways. Think of them as deep psychic rivers that our individual lives flow into. The mother archetype is the blueprint of nurturing, care, and fertility. The wise old man, woman, is the pattern of wisdom, knowledge, and guidance. The hero is the pattern of struggle, overcoming obstacles and achieving victory. The self is the ultimate archetype of wholeness, the central, unifying principle of the entire psyche. When you enter solitude, you're not just retreating into your personal thoughts. You are stepping into a realm where your personal unconscious and this vast, timeless collective unconscious meet and mingle. This is why solitude can feel so profound and sometimes overwhelming. You are not just dealing with your own stuff. You're tapping into the stuff of humanity itself. Part 3. Diving into the depths, meeting the unconscious. Now, as the waters of your mind grow still, you start to notice shapes moving in the deep. This is your entry into the realm of the unconscious. For Jung, this was perhaps his most significant contribution to psychology. The unconscious mind isn't just a dusty attic for forgotten memories. It's a vast, dynamic ocean teeming with life. It's intelligent, purposeful, and it has a voice. It speaks the language of symbols, dreams, and intuitions. It contains everything your conscious ego has pushed down over a lifetime. Painful memories, childhood traumas, impulses society told you were wrong, emotions you deemed unacceptable. But here's the beautiful, hopeful part. It also holds your greatest treasures, your innate potential, your creativity, your deepest wisdom, the ancient, universal archetypes that guide the human journey. When you're alone and unreachable, the doors to this unconscious world swing open wider. It's as if your psyche knows it finally has your undivided attention. The ego is quiet. Its constant managing of external impressions is on pause. This is when the unconscious feels safe. To communicate, you might start having vivid, strange, or powerful dreams. Jung saw dreams not as random nor static, but as direct telegrams from the unconscious. A dream might present you with a symbol, a key, a snake, a forgotten house, a mysterious figure. These are not to be taken literally, but as metaphors pointing towards something happening in your inner world. Perhaps a key symbolizes a new insight unlocking a door. A snake might represent healing or a hidden danger. A forgotten house might be a symbol of your own psyche, with unexplored rooms. You might feel sudden surges of emotion you can't explain, a wave of sadness, a burst of anger, a profound sense of peace. These are often feelings that were suppressed in social situations, now rising to the surface to be felt and acknowledged. You might find yourself drawn to certain myths, stories, or works of art. This is often an archetype stirring within you, seeking expression. These are not random events. These are messages from the deep. The unconscious is trying to balance your one-sided conscious attitude, if your ego is too rigid and controlling. The unconscious might send images of chaos or wild nature, if your ego is too passive. It might send images of powerful heroes or storms. Jung believed that plunging into these depths, though often unsettling, was essential for psychological healing and integration. You're not just digging up old wounds to feel the pain again. You're doing it to finally clean them out and let them heal properly. You are meeting your true self, beyond the limited identity you present to the world. This is a process of reclaiming lost parts of yourself. It's like going into a vast, inner library where every book is a part of your story, even the ones you were afraid to open. Part 4. The Shadow on the Path. Confronting what you've hidden. As you journey deeper into this inner library, you'll inevitably find a section that's locked away, maybe even hidden in a dark, dusty basement. This is the domain of the shadow. This is one of Jung's most powerful and challenging concepts. The shadow is the sum of all the parts of yourself that your conscious ego has rejected, denied, or simply cannot see. Who is in the shadow? It's everything you don't want to be. It's your raw anger, your petty jealousy, your laziness, your selfishness, your greed, your neediness. It's the part of you that wants to scream when you're expected to be polite. It's the part that feels insecure when you're supposed to be confident. We stuff these aspects down into the dark because we're afraid. We're afraid that if anyone saw them, if we saw them, we would be rejected, unloved, or seen as monstrous. But here's the crucial thing Jung discovered. The shadow doesn't disappear. It just lurks in the unconscious, and it has a life of its own. A shadow that is not made conscious will project itself onto the outside world. This is a key mechanism. You see your own repressed anger in your partner's face. You detect the laziness you deny in yourself in your coworker. You become intensely critical of others for the very flaws you refuse to acknowledge in yourself. The shadow also acts out in self-sabotaging behaviors. You inexplicably ruin a good opportunity. You say the wrong thing at the worst time. You fall into patterns of addiction or procrastination. This is often the shadow, acting autonomously, trying to get your attention. You can't become whole by ignoring your shadow. You have to turn round, face it, and ultimately integrate it. Solitude provides the perfect, and perhaps the only, conditions for this terrifying but essential encounter. When there's no one else to blame, no external drama to distract you, Your shadow steps out of the darkness and into the light of your awareness. You're forced to admit, that anger is my anger. That pettiness is my pettiness. This is often the most difficult part of the journey. It takes immense courage to look at the parts of yourself you've spent a lifetime avoiding. It can feel like you're falling apart. But, and this is the miracle of it, the shadow is not purely negative. It's a container. Yes, it holds your darkness, but it also holds gold. It holds vital life force, passion, spontaneity, and creativity that you disowned along the way. Maybe you were told as a child that being loud and expressive was too much, so you shoved your exuberant, theatrical personality into the shadow. Maybe you were taught that ambition was sinful or unladylike, so you hid your powerful drive and competitiveness. Perhaps your vulnerability was mocked, so you locked your capacity for a deep feeling away. By facing and integrating your shadow, you're not becoming a worse person. You're reclaiming your lost energy. You are becoming more complete, more real. This integration is the absolute heart of the individuation process. As Jung famously said, I would rather be whole than good. Wholeness means embracing the full spectrum of who you are, the light and the dark. It doesn't mean acting out every dark impulse. It means acknowledging its existence, understanding its power, and channeling that raw energy constructively. The integrated anger becomes the ability to set firm boundaries. The integrated ambition becomes passionate purpose. The integrated vulnerability becomes deep empathy. Part 5. The Hero's Journey Within. The Path of Individuation. This entire process, the solitude, the descent into the unconscious, the confrontation with the shadow, is what Jung called individuation. Think of it as your personal hero's journey. It's the ultimate adventure, and it happens entirely within you. The mythologist Joseph Campbell later mapped this monomyth, and it aligns perfectly with Jung's psychological model. The call to adventure often begins with a feeling of emptiness, a sense that something is missing, even if your life looks perfect on the outside. You might achieve a long-sought goal and feel nothing. You might feel a deep restlessness in the middle of a comfortable life. This is yourself, your deeper, whole psyche, calling your ego to begin the journey. It's the call to a more authentic life. At first, you might refuse the call. The path is unknown. It's scary. The ego is comfortable with the known, even if the known is miserable. Who am I to go on such a journey? It asks, what will people think? But the call persists, often in the form of crises, a job loss, a breakup, a depression, that force you out of your comfort zone. Eventually, you accept the call. You cross the threshold. You enter the forest of the unknown, that state of being unreachable, the sacred space of solitude. This is the belly of the whale, a stage of separation from the familiar world. Along the way, you face trials and obstacles, your inner demons, your complexes and neuroses, your fears, your outdated beliefs. You gather allies, the insights from your dreams, messages from the unconscious, the wisdom of the archetypes meeting the wise old man or woman within, the strength you find in silence. You face the ultimate ordeal, the meeting with your shadow. This is the battle with the dragon. It's a fierce, internal struggle where you must acknowledge and integrate your darkest aspects. This is not a battle to destroy the shadow, but to tame it, to understand it, to make it an ally. If you succeed, you gain the reward, the elixir. This is the treasure of self-knowledge, inner peace and authenticity. You have faced your own darkness and survived. You return transformed, back to the ordinary world, but you are no longer the same person. You are no longer just a collection of social roles, the employee, the parent, the friend. You are, fundamentally, you. You have unearthed your own internal authority. Your values are your own. Your life path is your own. This doesn't mean you abandon the world. You return to it with a renewed sense of purpose and an ability to contribute from a place of genuine wholeness, not from a place of people-pleasing or fear. You bring the elixir back to your community, often by simply living a more authentic and conscious life, which inspires others to do the same. Part 6. The Return. Integrating solitude into a connected life. So, what happens after this profound journey? You don't stay in the cave forever. The goal of inner work is not permanent isolation. The goal is to achieve a sacred balance, what the alchemists, whom Jung studied deeply, called the conjunctio oppositorum, the marriage of opposites. In psychological terms, this is the marriage of the conscious and the unconscious. You learn to carry the stillness and self-awareness you cultivated in solitude back into your daily life. Solitude becomes a practice, not just a place. It's the daily act of checking in, of listening to the whispers of the unconscious before they have to become screams. You become what I like to call comfortably unreachable. It means that even when you're in a crowd, at a party, or in a stressful meeting, you have a quiet center within you that cannot be disturbed by external pressures or opinions. You are grounded in your own truth. Your sense of worth comes from within, not from likes, shares, or promotions. This inner stability transforms your relationships. They become healthier because you're no longer seeking others to complete you or validate you. You are no longer projecting your shadow onto your partner or expecting them to heal your wounds. You connect from a place of abundance, not lack. You can love more freely because you are not desperate for love. You can listen more deeply because you are not just waiting for your turn to talk. Part 7. The Lifelong Conversation. Solitude as an Ongoing Practice. Jung's vision was one of profound hope. He taught us that the moments we fear, the moments of aloneness, are actually invitations. Invitations to grow, to heal, to transform. The journey of individuation is not a one-time event with a clear finish line. It's a spiral. You will encounter the same archetypes, the same shadows, the same challenges again and again, but each time at a deeper level of understanding. The next time you find yourself unreachable, instead of feeling anxious or lonely, see it as an opportunity, a chance to check in with yourself, to ask, what is my unconscious trying to tell me today? What part of my shadow is asking for attention? Where am I on my hero's journey right now? It's a lifelong conversation with yourself. A beautiful, messy, challenging, and infinitely rewarding dialogue. By embracing the wisdom of Carl Jung and the sacred space of solitude, you embark on the greatest adventure imaginable, the adventure of becoming truly, fully, and authentically yourself. If this exploration of your inner world resonated with you, if it sparked a little curiosity about the person you are when no one's watching, then you're already on the path. Consider this an invitation to continue the exploration. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to walk this path together, because the journey of constant improvement, of becoming, is a path we can share, even as we each walk it alone. Thanks for listening.